a minimum, guarantee that it does not go to the commies. All right, here's how it works. I like to walk around, move around. Let me just get off stage, because I like looking people in the face. So check this out. Today is October 12th, right? October 21 is in 9 days. We have 9 days to register as many people as possible to vote. Now I get it. Are they going to cheat? Absolutely. Are they going to conduct fraud? Absolutely. Are they going to try to steal it? Absolutely. But why can't we do everything to counter it? Number one, register to vote. Number two, get everybody that you know that's not registered to vote to register to vote. 9 days remaining. Scott Pressler is doing that right now throughout the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Okay? What happens next? October 21st to November 5th. We have the final days of the election season. If you haven't volunteered to be a poll worker, observer, whatever it is here in Pennsylvania, and you've already voted, then that's your next thing. You register, you vote, and then you take over the electoral system by getting involved in that electoral system, because you are the eyes and ears. And as you document any shenanigans, then you get to use that evidence for the next phase after November 5th, when we prove to the entire world with Elon Musk's X now, without him censoring us, we will prove any fraud moving forward. Okay, so if you're not on X, that's your next task. You need to get on X so that you can put forth your free speech. Other places, Rumble, Getter, Telegram, Truth, got it. Next, November 6th to December 1st. If you still sense that there are shenanigans and that the election was completely illegitimate, belligerently stolen by your district attorney and his cronies in Philadelphia, what's his name? District Attorney Kratzner. Okay? What do we do on December 1st? Well, I'll tell you. Who has heard of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania? Who knows that on December 1st is when your state legislature is then sworn in, the new one that you just will vote in on November 5th? Anybody know? Well, now you know. Article 2, Section 2 of your Pennsylvania Constitution. And here's where it works. Right now we're standing at a Republican state Senate, a Democrat-controlled state House. If you look at Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of the United States Constitution, yes, I'm a constitutional lawyer, but let me just make some First Amendment sounds here. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 keeps the power to allocate a state's electors for president and vice president. That power rests with the state legislature. So, if it remains how it is right now, Republican Senate, Democrat House, then every single person listening to me here in Pennsylvania needs to be ready, willing, and able on December 1st. Go to Harrisburg, confront your state rep, confront your state senator, and say, guess what? Here's all the evidence of the illegitimate steal. It is now in your hands to make sure that those electors are not transmitted to Congress for the joint session January 6th certification, and instead exercise your Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 powers in Senate and the Democrat House. They can't agree on how to allocate those 19 electors, which means the Democrats don't steal it.
Yes.
Now, what if they hear me and are like, ooh, we got to come up with a different strategy? That's why I'm saying this. Here's what could happen. You guys can help win the state Senate and the state House. That guarantees then a legislature that will allocate its electors if they vote by political party. Those 19 electors go to the Republican nominee. Multiply what I just said by 50 states. Guess how many, without even Pennsylvania, how many electors are controlled by legislatures throughout the 50 states where Republicans are the majority in the House and the Senate? Anyone want to guess? 276. What's the magic number?
270.
270. So we run the elections, we try to play it fair, they steal it. Our state legislatures are our final stop to guarantee a checkmate. A lot of people will say, well, the Republicans in Pennsylvania State Senate are toxic, feckless, stone-cold, coward, gutless, simp turds.
And that's a true statement.
What can we do? On December 1st, Sunday, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, there's leaders out here. I'm probably going to show up myself, with or without anybody. And I recommend the most peaceful, patriotic, legal, moral, and ethical motivation of your state legislature to do the right thing.
Large scale.
Now, we may not have to exercise that. It depends on what they do from today through November 30th. So keep an eye out. And if you're in New York and you happen to get a state house or a state, who's here from New York? If you are from New York and you're able to flip your house from one of the bodies, one of the chambers, to Republican, on January 1st, that's when your legislature gets sworn in, which means they have 5 days till January 6th to do the exact same thing. And how do we motivate things? Well, Elon, if you're listening in, Elon Musk, you're sitting on the biggest trove of criminal evidence ever in the history of humanity of a private individual, known as X. And all of their communications and direct messages and geotag location data. You can go ahead and say, hey, look at the communications that Kathy Bookvar did with the Deputy General Counsel of Twitter 1.0, who was the former FBI General Counsel. That was the one to authorize the illegal spying on General Flynn, Trump, Carter Page, Papadopoulos, Paul Manafort, etc. And what about us taking a look at the Twitter direct messages and communications, not only between Bookvar and Jim Baker, but also her staff and Jim Baker through that portal to censor folks and then to coordinate the 2020 electoral heist. And what about Kratzner? Doesn't he have a Twitter account? Why, yes he does. And it goes back a ways. I want Elon Musk to release all that so that all of Pennsylvanians, independents, Democrats, Republicans are like, oh wow, there was a 2020 electoral heist in Pennsylvania. And it's not a conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy fact. And that will motivate more people to show up on December 1st to conduct an autocorrect if they happen to illegally conduct the election here in Pennsylvania. With that, I want to close with the video. If you want to find out more about me, I'm on Rumble, X, Substack. Let's play the video so that you guys know why I'm in this fight, and I'm not going to stop while I'm alive.
You don't get that anywhere else but Rod of Iron. That was a fantastic.
Not on my watch.
communists steal the election through fraud, deceit, and illegal shenanigans on November 5th, starting on November 6th through December 1st is when your litigation starts, right? So the campaign's going to litigate. Private citizens are going to go ahead and showcase and file lawsuits. So that's going to go through the judiciary. That's going to make its sounds, right? But then in addition to that, I would suspect that with X being a free speech platform, you're going to see all that being percolated without FBI censoring it, okay? Before it was censored by the FBI, particularly Brian Auten, Laura Demlow, Elvis Chan, Joe Pientka III out in the San Francisco field office. I can name you every single person that was involved. Absolutely. And they were the ones behind it. So they don't have that this year, this election cycle. So then all the evidence gets shown and aired, uncensored, so that it shows to the entire country the belligerent, illegitimate fraudulency. That then is used in lawsuits, and that then is used by we the people to motivate the state legislatures when the new legislature takes office, particularly in Pennsylvania on December 1st, to go ahead and say, hey, state senator, state rep, here's the evidence that you've been seeing on the free speech platforms. It is your duty to not certify this. Or, if they don't do that, then it's a traditional sort of election. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of our U.S. Constitution vests the authority for allocating the state's presidential and vice presidential electors with the state legislative body. In Pennsylvania, that happens to be in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. That new body being for the next electoral term on December 1st. That's under Article 2, Section 2 of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Constitution. I'm advocating for the most peaceful, patriotic, legal, moral, and ethical path so that we have a free, fair, and secure election in Pennsylvania. But I'm also doing that in the entire country. I'm going to be in North Carolina explaining how it specifically applies to the North Carolina context.
Is it the same in each state? The process is the same in each state legislatively?
The state legislatures are the ones with the authority to do this. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2. That's amongst all 50 states. But the dates and the times and the sequencing is different.
Get your work cut out for you.
I already have the plan. You can follow my Substack to get all the details on that. I've already put all this together. And then it doesn't stop there. So I only went to December 1st for Pennsylvania. After that, we still have a month, 5 weeks before January 6th. It's all going to depend on what they end up doing. I have a plan and strategy for every single component of it. And then January 6th is going to be pretty fun. January 3rd is going to be fun, depending on how the U.S. House is set up. I have a primary, alternate, contingency, emergency plan for every single component of it. What part of Green Beret, intelligence officer, and constitutional lawyer did they not understand? Because if they deviate even slightly from the legal process, they will receive maximum consequences. And even if it's our own Department of Justice, if they get involved in that, they will get consequences as well. Letitia James, what did she do? She just set our precedent. Alvin Bragg in Manhattan, what did he just do to our district's attorneys? He just set our precedent. What did Fulton Fatty, what did she do? Did she just set our precedent? She did. Thank you, Fulton Fatty. What else? What about law enforcement? As soon as these DAs in the red districts decide to go ahead and go after these folks, they call on a sheriff to execute the arrest, also known as a live stream swatting raid, right? Just like they did to Roger Stone, right? Great precedent. I love that precedent. What did they do to Steve Bannon? Great precedent. What did they do to Peter Navarro? That is fantastic precedent. And if you're a member of Congress, Jamie Raskin in Maryland, we're going to set the precedent that you set on Scott Perry here in Pennsylvania when you conducted armed robbery of his digital devices using the FBI. The precedent's been set. And oh, by the way, if it's a local sheriff, right, then you probably want to follow the precedent set by Lila Morris. of the Metropolitan Police Department. You know what she did? She brutally beat to death on January 6th an unarmed peaceful election steal protester known as Roseanne Boylan on January 6th. That was considered objectively reasonable. Well, we can do objectively reasonable at scale to the 600 people on my list. Okay?
You have a list?
I do. It's called the Deep State Target List.
Am I on it?
So far, I don't. No. You're too low level. Unless you're a staffer to some of the people. No, I do. The reason why I'm letting you interview me because I have my. I'm gonna put this out before you do. Okay. And number 2, Metropolitan Police Department officer Michael Byrd. You ever heard of him? He was a lieutenant. Now he was. You know why he was promoted to captain? Because he point blank murdered Ashley Babbitt on January 6th. The only time in America's history that somebody was murdered inside of the U.S. Capitol in our almost 250 years, and you did not report on it. You should be absolutely embarrassed with yourself. And you're laughing at it. You're smiling.
No,
That is repulsive.
My friend was standing
That
next
is
to her.
disgusting.
No, my journalist friend was standing next to her when she was killed.
And
He
what?
got the
And
first
your
photograph.
journalist friend, did she report on that murder?
No, he was just he's a photography.
Well, guess what? Michael Byrd slaughtered her. And Ashley's birthday was 2 days ago, October 10th. And so guess what? While Jamie Raskin covers up for it, while Liz Cheney and Nancy Pelosi and Mike Pence's beloved Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, as well as Benny Thompson, Nancy Pelosi's beloved Benny Thompson, are coming after us and creating his lists to come after patriots that were exposing the illegal 2020 election heist. It's our turn, okay? With or without an election, with or without a President Trump, the counties and the states will guarantee retribution, okay? The precedent has been set. And if you think I'm joking, I want them to call my bluff.
Thank you so much. Seriously, really thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. That was more than 60 seconds. Thank you for letting me.
You're asking me if Elon Musk has agreed to releasing the mother of all Twitter files that exposes Bookbar, that exposes Grassner, what's his name?
How they explain the law in the plan you explained to us.
Phase 1, I got to motivate America, right? To understand that they were duped and lied to by certain individuals at the FBI to believe that the shots were safe and effective, that the election was safe and secure, right? When Elon Musk does that at scale and proves the individuals behind it, specifically by state, in Pennsylvania it's going to be Bookvar, the Secretary of State at the time, that was part of the censorship industrial complex to stop people from exposing her corruption. And then when people see that, oh wow, Ivan Raiklin was right all along. And here's the direct messages and communications of it. Then normal critical thinkers are going to be like, well, the election system hasn't changed. How are we going to fix it? That's when the political will is then presented for the state legislature to take the bold move of remedying the illegal election. Phase 1, education. Phase 2, Elon Musk pressure. Phase 3, understanding that we have to fix the electoral system using the constitutional framework we have. Number 4, it stops the electoral heist. Simple. And then retribution.
How many legislators do you have signed up to work with you?
You have to ask them.
So that they haven't come out, they haven't...
You have to ask them.
Okay.
I talked to many.
What's the scenario? No, Trump lost, or if Harris win,
So first off, here's some scenarios. If there is fraud to a level that is just like in 2020, where there are more elements of fraud than the margin of error, that would be the triggering factor. Both ways, either way. Whether it's if the Trump campaign is conducting fraud, this applies the same way. Okay? But as an analyst, I don't expect that. Observing what their plan and strategy is. What we've observed in 2020 and 2022, that is expected by the Democrat Party, okay, and their surrogates and affiliates. They admitted to it with that Time article in February 2021, how that went, with the censorship, etc. So, I mean, you have to ask your question a little bit more specifically for me to go into each level. I've thought this through probably more than anybody else, and there's different things that trigger different kind of phases of the plan. I don't want to get too ahead of it. I gave you the brief overview, but if you follow me on X, I'll give X, Substack, Rumble. I will be giving details depending on what I observe happening of what should be the next step. Every First Amendment sound that I make is always deliberately intended to present legal, moral, ethical solutions in the most peaceful and patriotic manner that we have under our constitutional framework. I'm trying to create the Venn diagram with those 5 elements so that it's beyond reproach. Now, it may anger some folks, phrases like the deep state target list. You should be angered with David Buckley, the former Inspector General of the CIA under Brennan, who was appointed to be the guy to go after patriots. All they did was expose an illegal 2020 election, and then in some instances showed up to D.C. on January 6th to express that. David Buckley set the frame. By the way, one of the 51 spies who lied and covered for the Biden criminal syndicate is David Buckley. Why are you not questioning his involvement in the illegal 2020 heist? And the 51 spies who've been covered for the laptop, why did they cover for it? Who selected him to be the guy to run the January 6th cover-up committee? And so on and so forth. Because you guys haven't done that, I felt compelled that I had to expose that. And that's literally my entire content push, is exposing corruption at the highest levels of both political parties.
Secretary of Retribution? Was that the title that you wanted, or?
I'm doing it right as we're doing. You're part of it.
In the Trump administration.
No, Trump has nothing to do with any of this. Again, I need everybody to listen closely. And what's your name?
Zach.
Zach from what publication?
Nerphoto.
Which one?
Nerphoto.
Okay, Zach. I need you to listen closely because you haven't paid attention. Because I've said this numerous times. I need you to focus when I say this. Okay, ready? All right, Zach. This path and plan involves the county governmental officials that have law enforcement authority and investigative authority, supported by people that have capability to provide this sort of evidence, along with state attorneys general. Is Letitia James an attorney general in New York?
Yeah.
Is Alvin Bragg a district attorney in Manhattan?
Yeah.
Is Fulton Fannie Willis a district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia?
Yeah.
We have district attorneys to the tune of 2,500 throughout the country, to the tune of 27 or so AGs throughout the states that are ready, willing, and able to conduct what precedent I just described with Fannie and Alvin Bragg. So what is the Secretary of Retribution? It's a person that is coordinating this effort. What am I doing right now? Am I coordinating it? Am I synchronizing it? Am I talking to attorneys general? Am I talking to state legislatures? Am I talking to district attorneys? Am I talking to sheriffs? Look at my X. It's all transparent. I'm doing all of that. So what is the Secretary of Retribution in the Department of Retribution? Phase 1 is coordinating and educating traitors and treasonous activity with evidence, and then obtaining other allies that are willing to present more evidence, Elon Musk, to present it to the appropriate law enforcement entities at the county and state level to continue the precedent set by James, Bragg, Willis, but in Texas, in Bastrop County, Texas, which is where that new headquarters of X is now. Or with the chairman of the State Affairs Committee in the Texas Senate, Brian Hughes. He has jurisdiction and authority to subpoena Elon Musk for everything that I allege to be in the direct messages. I've never said I haven't looked at all that, right? What makes you think I haven't? What makes you think I'm so confident in what I'm saying? The technology is there. The evidence is there. The digital residue is there. Every single person on my list is very concerned. And that's why they do attack pieces on me. Because if it wasn't legitimate, there would be no concern. It would be, oh, Ivan's lying. Oh, this is bogus. But instead, what's the response? Ivan's rhetoric is dangerous. It is dangerous to them because they have massive legal risk for their actions. Not at my hands. I'm just exercising my First Amendment to coordinate. Here are the traitors, and here's the current legal authority to action those traitors to the maximum. Did you get it, Zach? Did I say Trump? Did I say the word Trump in that exchange right there?
No.
Did I say federal government at all?
Okay. Secretary usually implies Secretary of Treasury or something like that. That's why I guess I assume.
Thank you.
Anything else? Sorry.
I asked you that
You were doing the Q&A and talking about how you're working.
today as I gave my speech.
Yeah.
Wrong. I have not mentioned his name today.
Okay. So you're not working with him?
Is he an attorney general? Is he a county district attorney? How about a no?
No.
That should be a very easy definitive no. How about, is he a sheriff? No. There's your answer.
So you're not working with him?
I am working with the constitutional authorities at the county and state level to educate them of all the treasonous actors that conducted, by category, belligerent, egregious actions over the last, in some instances, 10 years.
No.
To include those that targeted General Flynn, to create consequences for them. Because let's just say, people communicate, right? Sometimes that meets the threshold of an element of a crime. And then you have to ask the question, was that done through a phone, a device? Where was that device? Let's take a look at the geotag location data. And then let's match it with the counties that would like to pursue consequences for those individuals. Every single person on the list is concerned because they're self-auditing them. Their lifetime is like, oh crap. Why do you think Jim Comey, several weeks ago, is being asked by Criminal News Network or MSLSD that, are you going to leave the country if Trump wins? It's the wrong question to ask. It should be, are you going to be leaving the country? Because now the public has the ability, through X and other platforms, to give a spine to sheriffs, DAs, and attorneys general throughout the country to guarantee those individuals are held to account, with or without a President Trump, with or without an election. The federal government is primarily the individuals, former and current, that need to be held to account. You think they themselves are going to investigate their own crimes and hold themselves to account? No. The beauty of our Constitution, it allows us mechanisms to create accountability, to do an autocorrect of the constitutional order. And luckily we have former Democrats, independents, that see that. Our greatest threat is from within. RFK Jr. sees that. Tulsi Gabbard sees that. Brett Weinstein sees that from the medical side. You have Del Bigtree sees that. These are traditionally Democrat voters. But when they observed finally the censorship, particularly with the COVID con, that's the most important thing right now. I want to be able to bicker with you without censoring. I don't want somebody else to stop me from explaining to you, or you explaining to me what you think reality is. Because when that happens, I'm no longer caring about bickering with you. The enemy is now the person trying to stop me from speaking. And guess who that is right now? That is the FBI. That is the Department of Homeland Insecurity. Elements of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. I can name you all their names. Many are still there. The San Francisco field office. Mark Zuckerberg just admitted to what? Did you see the admission letter to Jim Jordan, chairman of the Weaponization and Judiciary Committee, about a month ago?
Which part of it?
The CEO of Fakebook and Instagarbage, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, admitted to 3 specific things that he's censored about. 1, that he worked with the White House and the administration, he says, as they pressured him into censorship. Translation, he participated in genocide because he stopped any information about therapeutics getting out related to the COVID stuff. CCP-19, right, lab incident. He promoted only the jabs. You couldn't say anything of that. The CDC's own data on vaccine adverse events reporting system said that it was, at this point, has murdered 38,000 people. And over 1 million people have had some level of heart negative impact or heart explosions, right? But if you use those terms, he booted you off, even though they were truthful. They called it malinformation because it wasn't helping their bottom line to sell those products. That's number 1. Number 2, Mark Zuckerberg admitted to covering for the Biden criminal syndicate laptop. Censored it out. Another aspect of the illegal 2020 election. And number 3, he admitted, he said, in his words, I will no longer bribe local election workers and officials to steal an election. Meaning, he dropped $400 million through the Zuckerberg-Chan initiative, funneled that into the Center for Tech and Civic Life. And then you could see Justice Gableman, that worked on behalf of the Speaker of the House of Wisconsin, in his 136-page report, explaining in excruciating detail how that was bribery. And then the Supreme Court in Wisconsin also, in addition to that, later said that the drop boxes that were used in the 2020 election, illegal. How many votes were done illegally? More than the margin of, quote, victory, rendering at a minimum that election illegitimate, and thus no one could be legitimately allocated those electors. Multiply that by Arizona, we went through that. Multiply that by Georgia, we're seeing that still playing out. Those 3 states alone delegitimize the guy currently in the White House. So Zuckerberg admitted to those 3 things. Censorship. The reason why I think he did that is because, he's trying to keep people within the Facebook bubble so that the lemmings are like, oh, look, he admitted to it. He's not going to do anything wrong anymore. He's no longer going to steal elections or bribe election officials. Why? Because X has now over 600 million monthly active users. When Elon picked it up, it was about a little over 300 million. And that number is growing exponentially by the day because people want to see the truth. And so, what was your name again? Zach. You are either part of the solution or part of the problem. And I get it, you have people you got to work for, but you can make a conscious decision, you yourself, Zach, on whether or not you want to carry the water for the misinformation, the censorship industrial complex, or if you kind of like look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm going to be like Catherine Herridge, and then expose the truth, and then take the consequences based on what I do. Or you can be like Tucker Carlson, or you can be like Russell Brand, or you name RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. Stand on principle, because if you stand on principle, it creates a domino effect, and then we can start to debate the minor issues that we disagree with. If we can't debate them, this thing's done. Like, this country's toast. Because if you don't allow somebody to air their grievances, it marinates and it gets beyond 273 Kelvin, no one wants that. But that's what they're trying to do. The Jamie Raskins of the world said it. He said he wanted Civil War conditions. I don't want Civil War conditions. I want Jamie Raskin and his wife, Sarah, to be held to account maximally without political violence. Okay? He's advocating for political violence. I won't deliver it. I will deliver him maximum accountability. Synonymous retribution.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
Anybody else?
That's just a superficial answer.
Michael Flynn didn't like it.
I didn't want to autocorrect this situation. That's it. Vigilante. You ask every single person, it's legal, moral, ethical. That's it. Always. It'll be painful for those, though, that end up receiving the consequences. I get it. Shouldn't have performed treason. Milley's already publicly with Woodward. You saw that?
What's that?
General Milley. So General Milley just, the Telegraph just published yesterday, or maybe even, I think it's yesterday, that he's afraid that he's going to be recalled from active duty and court-martialed. General Milley. Why do you think that is? Why is he conveying to Bob Woodward that if Trump wins, he's concerned that he's going to be called from active duty and be court-martialed? I'll tell you why. He was one of the key leaders on January 6th in the run-up to work with Nancy Pelosi, the Sergeant-at-Arms Paul Irving, who used to be also Paul Ryan's Sergeant-at-Arms, along with Secretary of the Army Ryan McCarthy, to run the Fedsurrection, meaning the deliberate non-protection of the Capitol to facilitate the breach, to flip the narrative to an insurrection, and then use the impeachment hoax 2 with the impeachment managers, Jamie Raskin being one of them, and the January 6th cover-up committee to continue to promote the insurrection narrative with their media allies, to include faux news, because Paul Ryan totally complicit in the whole scheme. If you want details on that, I've got a 3-hour deep dive with receipts on my Rumble channel with Alpha Warrior that goes in all that. And I'm probably over the next few days going to continue to expose that.
I gotta
For Trump, got it. With or without Trump, with or without an election, I am going to do everything in my physical and within my sphere of influence to guarantee we mitigate illegal activity, fraud, so we go back to like normalized electoral system. Because imagine all 50 states vote on November 5th in their state legislatures, House and Senate, live stream on X, on Rumble, on Truth, on you name it. You can live stream it. As we see every member of the House and Senate in these state capitals standing up to vote on how they're going to allocate the state's electors. Is that transparent? That's maximum transparency. Is that free and fair? Yeah, because the Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 is the authority upon which they're acting to allocate those electors. And then when you show America that the previous elections were illegitimate in those states, i.e. Elon Musk could release more evidence of that, then people are okay with it. And that's how we avoid the movie that you're talking about. Because the only people advocating for that are literally a few thousand people that are currently in power. And like 349,990,000 of us are like, okay, I may still think that Orange Man bad, but like I saw the election. Just like when Kevin McCarthy was voted in as Speaker, everyone saw it. You saw who voted and how they voted. And now you learn about Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of our U.S. federal Constitution. Simple. What did I say that advocated for anything other than lawful process? Not a single thing.
But what if the X are airing the fake?
Impacted Western North Carolina. I think we all agree on that fact. Okay? The origins I won't even talk about. Now, how did it impact it? Is it possible that mail-in ballots are nowhere to be seen that were sent out and are not being processed because they were destroyed. Is that possible remotely? I think almost everybody would agree that, yeah, there's a possibility. How many? We don't know. Okay, that's one. Number two, are there people that are no longer, that voted, that are no longer with us that might be counted towards the vote, right? I would say that most people agree that there's at least one, okay? And number three, is it possible that many people are not going to be able to vote because of the circumstances of the weather going into November 5th? So then what is that number in the collective for those three things? Is that enough to then say, hey, state legislature, because of the cataclysmic weather conditions that impacted potentially the electoral system and the legitimacy of the perceived legitimacy of the election, is it now time for you to say, you know what, we're going to allocate the presidential electors based on legislative vote due to those three components and anything that Elon or others do? I think North Carolina might be in a stronger position to facilitate that because of that than what I had explained here in Harrisburg in Pennsylvania. So that's going to be the thrust of my discussion down there, as I explained to folks. And then North Carolina has a different date when that legislature is certified. So then we could see a supermajority Republican. So then you have, it depends on the political dynamic and when they take seat. So these are the little nuances that no one talks about. In the media, mainstream, no one talks about that. I didn't even talk about the Electoral Count Act. This is just state level before it even goes into the hands of the Electoral Count Act on December 11th, I believe. 11th and 18th, I think, and 19th. I have an entire calendar that I've already built. What Congress is doing, Electoral Count Act process, all of it, and then what the state certifications are. So follow my acts, as I'll go into even more greater, like pixel level detail of who, what, when, where, why, and how we can remedy. Okay, if there's no fraud anywhere, even implicated or alleged, everything I'm talking about, it's a wash. But I've been a professional analyst my whole life, and I've been pretty good, pretty right. When everyone was coming after me, I was like, no, you know what? You can compel and coerce me, but like the evidence that I'm seeing is just, and I have access to more evidence a lot of times than most people because I spent 25 years in the system. I can call up my buddy at CIA times dozens, or my buddies at the FBI that are still in, or the DOJ, or you name the governmental institution. Because they'll talk to me. They won't say it publicly because they'll lose their job, but I've known these people for decades. Like, I trust the content that they provide me, especially when I know what position that they hold. It's like, yeah, you're going to have access to that. Now, I don't ask them to say anything that's classified, because I always talk to them and say, hey, tell me what you know without violating any. That's how I've been able to survive. It's always pristinely legal, but I also have much more access and context. And it's not like, I know it doesn't sound humble, but that's just the reality of how I live my life. Is I had this experience.